My name is Giuliano Siniscalchi. I am 24 years old. I'm from Vancouver, BC, and I live in Kelowna, BC now. And behind me is my 2023 Subaru WRX. I think my first memory involving cars as a kid, I always got Hot Wheels and everything like that, so I always played with the carpet cities and everything. That was big, but um, through most of, well, my whole life, my mom was mainly the one who raised me. My dad was not around. But there was one day where he popped home and he gave us, my brothers and I, it's Need for Speed Most Wanted on the GameCube. And we played that game together once. And then I think I loved that game. It was a lot of fun. Maybe I played it a handful of times afterwards, but I couldn't really play that game in full. After that, I think I just connected that game with him too much, but I played a whole bunch of Need for Speeds afterwards, had a racing wheel, and even as a kid, I just remember that was a lot of fun. I think there's a few people throughout my life that have influenced a passion for cars. I think the first real one would have been a friend I had in high school. In my senior year, once I had my license and everything, he showed me, I think it was one video by Eliminate on YouTube, and it was just like 240, and I had never really gotten into much of like the enthusiast part of the car scene because the only experiences I really had was the Need for Speed, and I didn't really touch it after I was probably 8 or 9. So I didn't have basically any knowledge in that sense, and he showed me that one video, and then as soon as I saw it was, I think it was the white S13, I think, and yeah, it was just one of the nicest cars I had seen, and it was just something about it that I was just drawn to right from the start. And then, like, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more into certain aspects of the car scene, so like drifting, and I think a big person would be Chelsea Denofa. He used to drift in Formula Drift. He doesn't anymore, but just seeing just his driving and how it's just so aggressive, it's always flat out. He's just doesn't care where he's going. He's just gonna make it. He's gonna make that lap happen. And I think there's just something special about that. So he was a big one. And then also, rest in peace, but Ken Block. One of the first videos I saw after the Eliminate video was a Gymkhana. And that sparked, obviously, a love for Subaru and Ken Block and his driving and just that same aggressive driving. And I just really resided with both of those drivers. I've made quite a few connections through the local car meets, or just I do photography and film as well. So I started off with photography, and I would always just reach out to people if I liked their car and just try and set up a free shoot just to be able to get some experience and then just meet some new people. And I met a lot of good people through that. My main friend group right now, I met one of them. He's got a R32 Skyline, and I just shot him a message one day, and I was like, hey, like, can I take some photos of your car? Met up, and from the minute I met him, he was like such a cool person, just like immediately one of my best friends. I knew he was a character when he pulled up driving his Skyline with no shoes. He was just pulled up like that, and I was like, cool. And he took me for a rip, and it was a lot of fun. And then from there, I just kept shooting with him. And then he introduced me to his friends that I am also best friends with now. And yeah, they've been a blast to be around. Shout out to all of those guys in that group. They're my closest friends. Eli, Mike, Seth, and Clint. They mean everything to me. They are the closest friend group that I've had for sure. And it's beautiful that just after just one little shared interest that you can have such a huge bond is beautiful. A couple other people who will always stay close to my heart in the car scene. One of them would actually be another person that I reached out to take photos of his car. He had an Evo 8, and I had messaged him to take photos of his car because I had an idea where there's a highway from Kelowna to Penticton, and it's fairly straight and lots of open sections, lots of 2 lanes or 3 lanes. I like rollers. I like either hanging in the trunk or hanging out of the window. I don't care the speed. I just like doing it for the shot. And I wanted to do that entire highway from Kelowna to Penticton rollers. And he was the only person I could find that was willing to do it, actually. And his name was Connor. Unfortunately, Connor passed away this year in an accident. Connor was he was an amazing person and a good friend. From the moment I met him and the first time we shot, he was just so friendly, and he was the first person, one of the first few people that believed in my passion involving photography and cars, and just believed that I was able to do something involving that. And now here I am a few years later, getting into film and just really trying to pursue that. And he was a big reason, personally, as to why I felt like I could pursue that. Just having someone like that believe in me just for no reason. He didn't know me, he had no reason to believe in me like that, but he did, and I think that was super special to me. So when I heard of his passing, it was a shock and it was hard, but so many good memories with him. I'll never forget when he took me for a drive in his Evo. Just hearing his car scream. I know his car's screaming a lot louder now. Have I always had the passion for driving? No. I think because I never really knew my dad, and the only few memories I had with my dad were involving cars. So I think just since a young age, I really held on to that and just had a lot of, I think, just hate and resentment towards my dad and the things he did, and I guess really connected the cars as a whole to that when I definitely shouldn't have. I just never really knew him fully. He didn't come around often. He was always gone. When I was 6 years old, my dad had done some not good things, and he ended up getting arrested and charged. So he served 5 years in prison. And then after that, I would have been 11 or 12, and he got deported to Italy. So that would be technically, I think, the last time I saw my dad. So really the only memories I have of my dad outside of prison was that one game, and then also, if you know Vancouver, downtown East Hastings, there was one time my dad picked me up from school, only time, and he was dealing at the time, so he put me in the back seat, and then he drove us downtown East Hastings. He bought me a red Powerade, parked the car in some alley in downtown Vancouver. I would have been 5, and he just left. He just left me there for a little while. I didn't know what he was doing. Didn't know when he was coming back, but I just remember sitting there. I was calm purely because I was drinking the Powerade, so that helped. So I think just with everything he's done, the only memories I had were really involving cars with him. So I think it made it very hard to disconnect him from cars for a long time. How did I gain my passion back? So in 2015, I would have been in grade 10, and at the time, I had a stepfather who, well, was not my stepfather, personally, in my eyes. He was a very abusive person in multiple ways. And at the start of grade 11, I got noticeably sick. I was losing a lot of weight. I was losing a lot of hair. I was waking up every night covered in bruises from head to toe. Never knew why. When I would get up in the morning, I couldn't actually get myself out of bed. I would just have to kind of lay there and just wait until I could have enough energy to get myself up and out of bed. And then because I didn't have much energy, I couldn't really go to school, so I would stay home. So during that whole year, I never got to see my friends often. I was going to the doctor a lot every day, pretty much. I was getting blood tests every day, to the point where I could go get blood drawn and they wouldn't have to check. They could just go right back into the same mark, the same hole every time, just because it was just so fresh and visible every time. And it was like that for all of grade 11, and we never knew why. At the start, they thought I had Lyme disease, and then they searched me for that, and I was okay. And then they thought I had leukemia, so there was a time there where that was very scary, but we figured out I was okay. And then in the new year, in 2016, I started having seizures. And that would have been right around the time I was getting my license. And at the time, because I was having seizures, when I had my seizures, I was at my computer, so they thought I had epilepsy. So at that point, they told me they thought I couldn't drive anymore. And that was right at the start of, just got my learners, and got to do my first couple drives. And then they told me that, and that was hard. And then I got tested, and then after that test, they told me I may or may not have epilepsy. And then that was their ruling, which is what I entered it as, and just told me I could just keep driving. So I didn't think about it, but I just keep driving. But during that time where I was very sick, and dealing with my stepdad at the time, there was I was taking a lot of medication for my whatever it was. And I would wake up and I would take multiple pills, wait an hour, take more, wait another 2 hours, take more. And I absolutely hated it. Um, Nothing that they were doing was helping. And then just dealing with a very abusive person as a stepfather was very hard. And I just felt like for one, I felt like I hadn't really felt happiness at that point in my life, just because of everything that happened as a kid, and then everything that was happening as a teenager. So I felt like I was always fighting something. When I was sick, I was in a very dark place, and taking all the medication and nothing helping, and then dealing with my stepfather at the time. It really made me feel like I just wasn't in control. I wasn't my own person. So for probably a few weeks when I was very sick, when no one was home, I would go into the bathroom and I would have a bath, and I would put all my pills in the bottle on the edge of the bath, and I would just kind of sit there and contemplate it, because it made me feel like I was in control for once. Like, if something was gonna happen, I had that control for once in my life. And I always knew I didn't want to die, and I don't want to die, and I couldn't do it. But I would just lay there, I would listen to music, and I would just battle through it. And it was very hard, but I am glad I did. I've never really shared it or talked about it, but that was that was the hardest thing. And then the moment I actually finally had my first car drive, even with my mom being right there, that for the first time, that also made me feel like I was in control. So you could ask my mom every night. I would ask her if we could go for a drive, and I would just drive. I would listen to pretty dark music, and it just helped me. And I think ever since then, driving has just been, it's been that free therapy where I can just get inside, be by myself, and just the feeling of the car, and just being able to get in it and just push and just drive, that's what makes me feel like I'm in control and like I have something in myself.